Our business study class today covers communication, and we are taking two objectives: what communication is and means of communication. In our previous class, we discussed transportation, and we saw the types of transportation. We took the advantages and disadvantages of transportation. Go back and watch that video. It's in this channel. And so today we are looking at communication. We use the word communication to mean words, passing of information from one person to another. We communicate. Passing of information from one person to another. So when it's the passing of information from one person to another, that is to say there are parties involved: the sender and the receiver. So in communication, let me use this to say this is the channel of communication. This is the sender, and here is the receiver. And so the channel can move this way. That means there can be feedback. The sender sends message. The sender sends message to the receiver. The receiver sends back message to the sender. So in communication, there is two parties to communication: the passing of information from one person to another, the passing of information from an individual to a firm, the passing of information from a firm to another firm. So we can say that communication has to do with sending of information, sending of message from one person to another, from one organization to another, from one establishment to another. That is communication. And in business, communication is one of the aids to trade because it is the life wire of a business. One of the life wire, not just a life wire, one of the major life wire to a business. Because the customer needs to receive information from his producer. The producer needs to communicate the customer or the consumers. So if there is no communication in between these two parties, business cannot take place because producers cannot sell and consumers cannot buy. So communication makes it possible for the product to get to its finishing point, and for information to get to those who are final consumers, or those who are agents, those who are middlemen in the business world. So communication, the first objective, has to do with passing of information, giving of message from the sender to the receiver, and vice versa, from the receiver back to the sender. So that's why I said we'll have two parties to communication: the sender and the receiver. It can be an individual, it can be an organization, it can be an establishment. Depends. Now, having seen what communication is, we have different means of communicating. We can communicate through post, we can communicate through telephone, we can communicate through World Wide Web, we can communicate through global system for mobile communication. That's another way. Then we have the satellite, the global communication system through a wireless means. That's the fourth one. Let's take them one at a time. Post. This is the means of sending letters from one person to another. It can equally be through sending mails, emails, letters, memos, mails. These are posts that you can use to create awareness. Social media posts, social media awareness of an event. That is communication through posts. Posters, billboards, all these are posts that you can send information across. You see your big billboards in open places. You see your posters gone around. You see a blog post about a sponsored ad. You receive a letter about an information, you get an email of a particular information, they are all posts. That's one means of communication, and it has actually been serving its purpose really well. Then another one is telephone. When we talk about this, is a system for talking to somebody far away or near using wires. And you want to differentiate between telephone and this wireless system. Telephone, there must be wire attached to it, but in the other one, there is no wire attached to it. Okay, and so it's a means of communication where wires are laid and information is passed to the other person. In the era of Nitel, Post, those days, I don't know whether they still exist, but some people still use wired form of telephone to communicate. Then we'll have the World Wide Web, your www.whatever.com, .whatever.org. It's a worldwide web whereby internet users communicate with each other. Internet users communicate with each other. This is the communication done on the internet. And this internet communication, it's a more recent one. It happened in the 2000s. From year 2000 to date, the internet has been evolving. It has evolved greatly. Today we have a good internet service. Before then, there were some involvement from one stage to another, but today we have a good one. And this system helps mobile communicators to communicate from one person to another. Your mobile device, your GSM. Okay, your GSM, it's a wireless form of communication where you carry your answer. There is no wire you are seeing. These are invisible wires that help us to communicate with a second person, the sender and the receiver. That's another means of communication. Then we have satellites. Satellites. When we talk about satellite, it's an object which rotates and picks up signal from around the world or around the earth. The moon and the space. Information can be passed from the earth to those in the moon. Information can be passed from the moon to those on earth. People who travel to the space use the satellite. They launch the satellite in the space. Satellites, it's an object which rotates and picks signals from around the earth. Scientists launch the satellites in the space, send signal to the earth. Sometimes we see people go to the moon and send signal to the earth. It is done via a satellite. And remember, we say communication requires two parties. They are in the moon, they are sending signal to the earth, telling us what is happening here. Those in the earth send signal to those up there, telling them what is happening. And so it is done scientifically by those who launch satellites up there in the space. And this information can be very useful for business or individuals or organization or for a country. So we have seen the different means of communication through posts. You have your blog posts, your email, your letters, your billboards, your posters, whatever. The telephone, your wire kind of telecommunication that you pass information from one person to another, but in a wired form. There are cables laid down that help us to transmit this information. Then we have the World Wide Web, which uses the means of internet, where the world has been webbed together like a spider chain or net to bring everybody together into a small global village where we can communicate with everybody or anyone who is on the internet instantly and receive response instantly in case of good network. Okay, global system of communication, your GSM, whereby communication is done via a wireless form of transmission. like you have your mobile devices. There is no laid-down cable, but the waves up there, invisible wires that can transmit information to your receiver or to the sender. And then we'll have the satellite launching the space, signals brought here to the earth, giving us information of what is required and what is happening out there. These are all means of communication. So we'll see what communication is and the means of communication. We'll take other areas of communication in our subsequent class. Thank you for being part of the class. If you like what we are doing here, give us a thumbs up so we are encouraged. If you have questions, go below the comment box and ask us. If you have any suggestion, comments, we'll go through your comments. We love your comments and we love your feedback. So give us feedback. That is an incentive, a motivating factor to help us do more, adjust and make necessary correction. I am aware of the background noise you hear. We're trying to put in modalities if possible. It's just that we are shooting from an environment where we don't have soundproof in our studio. So please bear with us, manage with us, try to listen to what we're saying and leave the noise at the background, but just listen to us. I've taken note of that observation. Alright, and so until I come your way next class, if you are new here, please subscribe. If you're a returning subscriber, thank you. If you always drop by on this channel and you are not subscribed, please hit the subscribe button so that when we upload a new video, you will know. I'm happy to be here and I'll always be happy to be here. Thank you, my community, for being here for me. Until I come your way next class.